So and we don't have much time. So last time you were here, you were with Muse, and I mean, like, that is a show beyond shows in terms of spectacle and performance. And so going on the road with those guys, maybe we'll start with, now that you guys are headlining a tour basically around the world through January. What did you learn from a performance standpoint from watching those guys play?
Well, it is quite a different thing, like you say. It's so grandiose in scale. It's really such a big show. And I think those guys, anything they can dream up, they can give it a go. They don't seem to have anything holding them back. It's really just their imagination. And they'll be able to create a show which is unlike many other rock shows or any kind of shows you see. It really is an experience. And, I think they've learned, when you're in a big room, you've got to put on a bit more of a spectacle, especially for the people at the back of the room. You don't want to just be looking at three little dots on the stage, so you bring in video and big lights and that sort of thing. We've learned that much. One thing we haven't changed is trying to remain relatively human about it. I think the Muse show is incredible, but we want to feel that people are a little more involved and the audience are a little bit more a part of the show. So we'll strip things back. We'll have Simon play a couple of songs, just an acoustic guitar on his own, just to try and create a different dynamic to the show. So it's not all full guns blazing, big massive rock show. But we like to have more tender moments as well. And really, I guess the rest we've just kind of learnt ourselves from 15 years on the road. And this tour we're doing just now, we're right back in small clubs, which is really kind of cut our teeth as a band. And in a room like this, you can see the whites of people's eyes. Again, that's a different type of performance, maybe a little bit more intense. But again, we're just trying to create that communal atmosphere, and everybody's in it together, and try and get the crowd singing as much as we can.
So does the set list change depending on the size of the room for you guys?
Yes, I think a little bit. I think we've learned the hard way. We used to play in small clubs. We would play 2 hours long, and I think even that's too much for some of the audience. It's so loud and intense. So, we just try to pick songs. We're lucky as a band, we still love playing songs from every record. Some bands can maybe disown their earlier work, but we're still really proud of everything we've done. So we try to play songs, at least one song from every album. And then I guess it's, mostly songs from the last couple of albums thereafter. But we try to mix it up, just try to keep it interesting, trying to create a bit of a nice flow to the set, so that you have those different sides of the bands coming through. And, so far the tour's going really well, and it's nice to be back in these smaller rooms.
If you've been living, you're talking about playing all the records, you've been living with these 20 or so songs for a year, maybe even 2 years, with some of them going back to the beginning of the record. Which ones, given that there's so many, there's only so much time in a set, you're saying even 2 hours is might be pushing it at times. So what songs from the new record seem to be sitting in the set every night? What seems to have stayed?
I think like Black Chandelier, Opposite, Biblical, Sounds Like Balloons. I think those songs we play them most every single night. There's a few songs that kind of come and go. We like to play Skylight when we get into a bigger room. We've got some that's kind of a different side for the last couple of years of the band. We've brought in some more visual elements for the performance. So really that song, it really helps to have the big production, But other songs like Spanish Radio, which is a really interesting song to play live. We tried to make the band sound like a mariachi band, which it can be a tough thing to do, but I think they do it quite well. And it's got a more kind of playful nature to the song. And again, not to repeat myself, but just trying to show as many different sides to the band as possible, and just to trying to keep it as interesting as possible, really. Occasionally we'll change things up just to keep ourselves interested, but we know people are coming on this tour, they want to hear songs from the new album, so we try to play as many of those as we can.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So if you've got the 2 albums, and if The Sand is about the past and the difficulty, and then The Land is a positive disc about moving on, are you trying to do that with the live show too? Or are you trying to break it into almost 2, not sets, but 2 pieces? Or is it just a melange of everything?
It's not so much in 2 halves, so to speak, but we definitely try to, that album obviously about the opposites, the different kind of emotions that are there on the songs. I think that kind of comes through in the performance. Some songs are a little bit more upbeat, some songs are a little bit more introspective, and We don't kind of mimic the album with a live set, but it certainly has, what we think is all the best bits out of the record.
Mm-hmm. How did the themes of the record influence the changes in the arrangements when you were making them to fit into, or maybe it just didn't and the song just ended up fitting, but were there arrangements that needed to be changed to fit into each of the themes?
Not too much. I mean, most of that was kind of done before we went to actually record. We're not a band that, there's a little bit of experimentation when it comes to sounds and recording techniques and that sort of things, but when it comes to the actual music, most of that is pretty much set before we go into the studio. It's a kind of expensive place to be, and we don't want to spend 3 weeks writing music. We'd rather just kind of work on the recording. So, I think most of those things are. At a certain point, the song dictates how it wants to sound. I know that sounds a little bit hippy-dippy, but some songs cry out for the really aggressive sound, and something like Spanish Radio, which I mentioned, it really wanted that mariachi vibe in there, and something like Pocket is much more simple, so we're just going for a real kind of classic sound on that one.
So where did the three of you compose the music together then before going to the studio? Do you have a jam space, a rehearsal, one of your houses? Or is it during sound check?
We have a rehearsal space on a farm in a very sleepy little village near where we live.
Oh, that's nice.
And Simon will write songs at home and work on things and then bring them into the rehearsal room, and we'll kind of make them loud and try to play them in lots of different ways. Sometimes songs, the first time we play them, it's like, yep, that's it. Other times, maybe we try them in different styles, maybe try them kind of acoustically and strip back, or we'll throw everything in the kitchen sink at it. So I guess it's really different for each song, but at some point it feels like the song takes over, and luckily we've all so far been on the same wavelength as to where the song should go, and it kind of just becomes apparent through the process, really. Which
one of the songs took the most arrangement changing and shifting to find what felt right?
That's a good question. maybe a song Little Hospitals was one of the, we recorded about 23, 24 songs with a view. Just sometimes songs turn out better than you could have hoped. Some of them don't sound quite as good as they might have done, you might have thought, so Little Hospitals is one that was a little bit later in the recording process. We just felt we wanted something that was a little bit dirty and sleazy and kind of had a bit of more of a punky edge, so that one came a little bit later. Something like there's Kazoos on that song that kind of come out of nowhere, and that came a little bit later. Somebody handed Simon a bag of Kazoos and he went into the studio, and we were just rolling around in laughter, but really brutally happy at how great it turned out. That was one of the kind of surprises during the recording process, where suddenly it was like, fuck, we've got a symphony of Kazoos. Are we losing our minds? But, sometimes the craziest ideas work the best.
Yeah, that's when you throw a bag of Kazoos out at every show into the audience and let them play along. That'd be awesome.
Exactly. We should be doing that every night.
Well, it might get a little pricey, but once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of pricey, and I don't have too much time, so I want to know about this Prince of Norway birthday party from this summer.
Oh, yeah.
So explain that.
Well, the Crown Prince, as it turns out, is a big Biffy fan, and he was on television, and they were asking him about his favourite bands, and he said it was Biffy, and then the Princess was throwing a 40th birthday party for him in the grounds of the palace, and they were making it like a little music festival. So that's when they got the call. The Princess would like you to come and play, and of course we didn't. You can't turn something like that down. So that was kind of fun, It was we had to get background checks by the police and the army, and we turned up, there's loads of guys with machine guns, and that was a little bit intimidating. But then we got into the grounds of the house, and the Crown Prince and the Princess are dancing, and the King of Netherlands is over there dancing, and it was a very surreal experience, but most fun. Very different. There was maybe only a couple of hundred people there, but we were surprised they wanted us, but they did. So we went there and did our thing, and it's been really fun. That's the kind of thing you won't forget, just to be in a whole different world. We didn't get a glimpse into how other people live, but a real fun experience.
Cool. I'm going to let you go, so we do something called 5 questions. 5 quick questions, 1-word answers.
Yep.
Road or studio?
Studio.
Lennon or McCartney?
I'm going to say, controversially, I'm going to say McCartney.
Controversially, you think? Okay, all right.
He gets a hard time.
He does get a hard time, it's true. When you hear a song, what usually hits you first? Lyrics, melody, or rhythm?
Melody.
If someone's never heard Biffy Clyro before, what song do they start with?
Biblical.
Cool. And in one word, Biffy Clyro.
Intense. Flawless.
Oh, I like both those words. That's good, though.